What is going on, guys? So after many delays due to current events, Wonder Woman 1984 has finally come out both in theaters and on HBO Max. I had a chance to watch it on HBO Max on Christmas Day, so now I'm here to share my thoughts. Now, in case you're worried about spoilers, don't worry, the first part of this video is going to be completely spoiler-free. I am going to get to spoilers eventually, but I will give you plenty of heads up before I start talking spoilers, so no need to worry about that. So as a whole, I would say the movie is good, and I enjoyed it. It definitely has its problems, which I'm going to get into, but I did have a fun time with it, and I would still recommend that you watch it. First off, the entire cast does a great job. It was great seeing Gal Gadot return to the role of Wonder Woman and Diana Prince. She was absolutely amazing. It was also a lot of fun getting to see Chris Pine play Steve Trevor again. Those two have a lot of really great chemistry together, and I always enjoyed them whenever they were on screen. Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig also stood out in this movie. I really enjoyed their performances, and I actually found myself being very interested in the arcs of their respective characters. The movie is gorgeous from a technical perspective, with a lot of standout visuals and some really impressive action set pieces. And overall, I loved the central theme of the film and how it came full circle by the end, and I like how they tied the various arcs into that theme. So yeah, as I said right from the get-go, there's a lot of really good stuff to enjoy in Wonder Woman 1984. That said, I think this leads into the movie's biggest problem for me, which was that it's kind of messy and sometimes lacking in focus. The movie seems like it's going to be very focused at the beginning. They establish right from the get-go that this is Diana's story, and they establish what her character flaw is that presumably she will have to overcome throughout the rest of the movie. However, the movie doesn't really focus on that character flaw again until we start to get into the second half, so for a lot of the first half, it doesn't always feel like the movie is really focusing on Wonder Woman. And that's another big problem, is that I honestly just don't think there's enough Wonder Woman in this movie. Because I love the Wonder Woman scenes when they happen. They are beautifully shot, the action is incredibly exciting, and Wonder Woman is given a lot of really snappy dialogue that Gal Gadot just delivers perfectly. So I honestly just wish we had gotten more of that. The movie is often very slow paced and can drag a bit at times, so I felt that having a little more Wonder Woman action could have made the movie feel a little more fun. As I said before, I love the story that they went with, I love the central theme, and I appreciate that they tried to make all of the character arcs connect to it, but I also feel that the premise opened up a lot of really interesting opportunities that the movie didn't fully take advantage of. And I know that sounds like complaining about good things not being as good as they could have been, but when you introduce a lot of really interesting ideas, you naturally want to see those ideas develop to their full potential. So when the movie isn't able to do that, and when it doesn't always bring all these ideas together cohesively, it can result in the movie feeling somewhat messy and unfocused. So that's pretty much all I can say while speaking broadly. So from here is where we are going to talk spoilers. So if you have not seen Wonder Woman 1984 yet and you do not want major spoilers, you have been warned. Okay, so if you're still here, you've either seen the movie or you just don't care about spoilers, so let's get into it. So let's start by kind of talking about the beginning of the movie. Now, while the beginning of the movie is really exciting and it does kind of lay the groundwork for the major theme of the story, I also feel that it's kind of lacking in real tension, and it sets up something in particular that the rest of the movie doesn't fully roll with. Even though Diana is just a child at this point, and she's presumably pretty early in her training, she still gets through this obstacle course without really much effort at all until she gets snagged by a branch. So I felt that maybe if she was consistently struggling throughout that obstacle course and having to think creatively in order to best the other Amazons, it would have been more believable when her mom tells her later that she's not ready, and it would have given Diana actual motivation to cheat. On top of that, her cheating really didn't seem like a huge problem. Like, I get what she was saying about not cheating, but you could also see it as Diana thinking creatively, as I said, in order to get out of a tricky situation, which you think would actually be a benefit. So I felt they maybe could have reworked that whole scene just a little bit. And as I said, it seems that the movie is setting up that this is going to be Diana's personal struggle that she's going to deal with throughout the entire movie, but then they don't really get into it that much until we start to get into the second half. It's actually the other characters who are going through this, so it really seems like this whole scene is just kind of setting up the larger theme of the movie, even if it doesn't fully apply to Diana, at least not right away. And I didn't even think about this. I'm gonna have to go back to the first Wonder Woman movie just to be sure, but someone pointed out to me that there may be a timeline inconsistency, because apparently in the first Wonder Woman movie, Diana was kind of a teenager before her mom gave her permission to start training, but then in this flashback, she's a child who's clearly gotten a lot of training in order to do this obstacle course. So again, I may be wrong about that. I may have to go back and double check the first movie just to be sure, but it seems like that may be a timeline inconsistency. Another thing I want to talk about is Steve Trevor. So here's the thing. I like that they brought Steve Trevor back. I think it was cool. I really like seeing Chris Pine again, and it was really emotional at the end of the movie when Diana ends up having to say goodbye to him again. But I don't like how they did it. Let me reiterate, I like that they brought him back, I just do not like how they did it, and here's why. Now, Diana finding the stone and making a wish and not even really thinking about it, and Steve just happens to come back, that all works totally fine for me. She didn't know that it could make wishes at that point, and Steve was the most recent thing on her mind, so if she has to have one wish, then bringing Steve back isn't that big a deal. But the whole thing with him coming back in this other person's body, I thought that was so weird, and they did not need to do that. Because there's really no point. It's not like anybody is going to recognize him. It's not like the stone hasn't proven that it can't do anything. So why not just bring Steve Trevor back? Why does he need to go into this random person's body? It also gets into some really weird territory because when he and Diana are in bed together later and you remember that this is actually someone else's body, you're like, maybe you shouldn't be doing this without that person's consent. It also reflects poorly on Diana's character later in the film because when she's saying she doesn't want to give up Steve, like, I totally understand that part. But she doesn't even seem to care about the fact that Steve staying means that this person, like, will never be able to live his life again, and that doesn't even seem to cross her mind. So yeah, I like that they brought Steve back. I just do not like at all how they did it, and I thought that whole element was completely unnecessary. But otherwise, I really enjoyed him in the film. While we're talking about Steve, and I hate to have to say this, but you know, given that Wonder Woman is kind of a symbol of female empowerment, when her primary struggle for a good chunk of the film is not wanting to give up the man she loves, I can't help but think,
come on, lady, snap out of it! You can't let some boy do this to you! You're an Amazon warrior! You're Wonder Woman! You're literally a symbol of female empowerment!
I don't know, maybe that's just me. But all jokes aside, I also think that highlights one of those missed opportunities I was talking about. Like, I know that they established that the stone can only grant one wish, but there's so many opportunities they could have done with that. Like, there's gotta be more things that Diana wants. Like, she probably wants to go back to Themyscira after decades of not seeing her mother or all of her friends that she grew up with. She probably has a strong desire to find her place in modern society and really feel like she's a part of this world. Heck, maybe they could establish that her being away from Themyscira for so long means that she's losing her powers or she's beginning to age, so she finally has to face mortality for the first time. So maybe the stone could suddenly just give her everything that she wants, and throughout the course of the film she slowly has to give up each of these things one at a time, and then Steve is just, you know, the final straw that, you know, she finally just has to give up everything. Which, again, I love that central message, and for the most part it was executed really well, but you know, maybe I'm just being a little nitpicky, I don't know. But I don't want this video to just focus on the negatives, so let's end the video by talking about some positives. I really liked Pedro Pascal in this movie, and I like what they did with Maxwell Lord's character. Even if he can be a little cartoony at times, I like how they put forth effort to make him relatable and not just make him big baddie who wants power, and I like how things came full circle with him. Same with Cheetah's character. I like how she slowly progressed throughout the film. I like how she tied to the central theme, and when she becomes Cheetah at the end, like, I thought she made a really good villain, and I love that final fight scene between her and Wonder Woman. There are a lot of really fun and just beautiful scenes throughout the entire movie. Like, sometimes it's really fun and action-packed, like that scene where they're in the desert, and then there are just, you know, nice moments where Steve and Diana are flying through the clouds and you see the fireworks from above and they're just looking around, enjoying life and enjoying the moment. I appreciated things like that. A slower pace allows for this kind of stuff to happen too. And the big finale where Wonder Woman has to convince both Maxwell Lord and the people of the world to renounce their wishes, and she's also renouncing her wish. I thought that was very powerful. Again, I like when the theme comes full circle and when they manage to connect it to the larger conflict, so all of that was really fun. So yeah, despite everything I've said, Wonder Woman 1984 is still a well-made and enjoyable movie with good characters and a good overall story that I did appreciate. It does suffer from a lack of narrative cohesion at times and some ideas that really just didn't work, which is what really drags it down for me. So it's not a great movie, and it's definitely not as good as the first Wonder Woman movie, but overall I did still enjoy it despite its problems, and maybe on a second viewing I'll warm up to it a little more and maybe the problems won't bother me as much. I'd still recommend watching it, and I think you'll have a fun time. I don't know if I can recommend going out of your way to see it in theaters if you're hesitant about going out right now, but I'm sure there are a lot of scenes that would be an absolute blast to see on the big screen, so who knows. I'm gonna give Wonder Woman 1984 a B-. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys. Have you seen Wonder Woman 1984 yet? What did you think of it? Whatever it is, feel free to share your thoughts down in the the comments and let me know what you think. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content. Also be sure to check out my other videos over there. It really does mean a lot. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you for the next review.